Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Bryant, Gina, Jennifer.
Wall push-ups. Can you turn to the side and do side ones as well?
I've never done them.
I saw somebody doing them, but I didn't know if they were effective or not.
I would think it would work your serratus. I would think it, because of the positioning, just thinking about a on the floor plank on the side. Instead of a push-up, it feels a little more to me without doing it like a wall plank. So, but I'm sure anything like that you hold statically that's taxing in under a minute is going to be helpful.
Okay, I know my physical therapist has me adding wall push-ups to my routine this week, but I had seen when I was in there, somebody else had turned to the side and was doing push-ups from the side, and I thought, what would be the point of that? But
It's more of an ab. It's more of a core thing than a chest thing. I'm pretty sure I can feel that in my head doing it. I do side planks. So like a push-up, as you know, I mean, that's what you're doing. Congratulations to. You're starting with a wall push-up, and then you progress to a chair push-up, then to a knee push-up, and then to a full push-up. So I would think that's more of a wall plank. Yeah.
okay. Yeah, she's got me working on my balance and stuff because I have so much spinal damage that the nerves between my hands and feet and my spine don't send the correct messages. And so out of nowhere, the signal gets lost, and then I go numb and fall until the signals kick back in. So I'm not allowed to get down on the floor and do them because she don't want me to fall and then not be able to get back up. So I have to do things that are above ground.
You have a stretch a minute.
I do, and I use that.
So for your balance, it's like it sounds too easy to be true. For everybody listening, if you'll take that, when it beeps, you extend it and it beeps. So if you'll do that, and it goes for a minute, the goal is, you remember in the Karate Kid, the crane?
Mm-hmm.
So outside, you can't see me doing it, but right now my knee's up here, okay? So I'm standing I stretch it and I hold it while it's beeping. The first goal is the 10-second mark, then the 20, then the 30. But I'm standing on one leg, and the only way you can do that is to activate your core, or you'll fall. But if you will do that, I promise you will improve so fast. It's amazing how the brain works. Then when you can master a minute, my knee's up again, you can master a minute of that without falling on both legs, then either close your eyes or blindfold. You'll start falling again. Then when you can do it with the blindfold on for a minute, you're back.
Okay.
It sounds easy, but it is not easy. It took me about a week to get to where I could do that blindfolded. It's funny when you take your sight out of the equation at how your balance gets discombobulated. But it will activate your core. Because the only way to balance on one leg with your knee that high for a minute is to activate the core.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I enjoy those types of conversations. I'm working on my fitness as well. Hello, Cheryl. Good to have Cheryl with us. All right. Yes, I did post a little bit of kettlebell stuff, but now I'm splicing that up so that it's short to show some actual movements and how to do them for those that remember me saying I was going to do some of that the other day. Just bear with me as I try to get those in there in the school platform. I just need to splice them up and get them to a minute to show the movement We'll do a class. We'll do a class on that. You have my word. We'll do it real soon. It'll be a great topic to cover. There's 5 to 7 great kettlebell movements that you can do and master that will really train your posterior chain. That's a good way to say from the back of your neck all the way down to your heels. And that's where a lot of our health begins to fail us as we age, is our posterior chain. So kettlebell movements are really good for your posterior chain. That means your butt. Gina, I just tried doing the standing here at the kitchen while I make Mighty Muffin. I'm glad nobody saw me. Isn't it difficult, Gina? You would think. I made that look easy, didn't I? I promise you it was not easy when I started. If you don't have a stretch a minute, somebody asked, what if we don't have a stretch a minute? Get a towel and just set you up a timer. Put a timer in front of you. The stretch a minute will time it for you. Lots of good stuff we can do for our group to get in better health and shape. We'll get the class started now because, we're talking about faith. That has got to be front and center of real change in 2026. I can't believe half the month is already gone. But faith, starting with faith, whatever your faith-based pursuit is, maintaining, expanding on that relationship that we all have with the Lord. We're His kids. And just like I have a different relationship with all 3 of my kids, I have a different interaction with all 3 of them based on their personality. But I love them the same. And I've always kind of viewed it like that. We all have a different way of going to Daddy. But that should be the most important part of real transformation and change, because we're good people, all of us. We just got in some bad habits. So we're going to need His help to get us through that. And then next, you have nutrition. Understanding as much nutrition as it makes sense for you. Some people, they just need to know the basics. They will modify, and they don't care how, why it works. They're going to do it, and they have success. Other people want to know why, and I do that too. I love to teach the whys. I learn things every class just by piecemealing information in my own brain together. Like, yeah, that is connected. So I love the deep dive. So we do both of those, but you've got to learn it, and knowledge alone won't get the job done. There has to be proper application. You have to put the information to use every single day. That's even on holidays. And then you have your exercise, starting with stretching and walking. I've been saying that for years. We're going to work on some strength training, but stretching and walking. Doesn't make a lot of sense to get into swinging around kettlebells and working on our core if we don't have the discipline to get our steps in weekly. So we want to work on our steps and our stretching. Our group, you're only as old as you feel, right? You're as young as you feel. But our group does need to work on stretching. Hey, Patricia, we need to work on stretching. There's a little tiny elephant in the room. I'm going to address it. It will take less than a minute, and I promise I'm going to move on. I yesterday was told and sent several things that freedom password was being given out in other groups that you might be a part of. I'm not worried about that, and I don't want you to worry about that, because that when they put in freedom and then they log in, it links up to any IP address that they formerly used. And then at that time, when we find out people are doing that, we refund them and we remove them. So please don't worry about that. I'm not worried about it, and I don't want you to be. The main thing I wanted to address is the people that felt dishonored if people were getting in there for free and not having to pay. That is not happening. This year we have promised to honor the people who are supporting this program. No hard feelings with anyone, but when they do that, so that some of y'all that were upset, we're refunding them and saying this is not a good fit. So please don't give out your freedom password unless you know it is actually to a member. because what happens is it's not a greed thing, as is being said. It is a lot of the code that's been written over the last 4 or 5 years to keep it up to date and secure. Every click costs fractions of pennies, and by now everybody knows that I don't have fractions of pennies. So it is only for the people who are supporting the ministry. Does that make sense? And then I'll move on off that. No hard feelings with anybody. Just didn't want y'all to think that people are getting in and not having to contribute. As soon as we see that happen, they're out. Okay? All right. We will change it occasionally. It's just been so hard to get the word out the first time. I really don't think it will be an issue. Believe it or not, there's not that many people logging into it anymore. Just, mostly you guys. All right. So let's get into this conversation about fiber. Excuse me. For those of you that are excited about learning more about perfect pairings, part 2 of that is tonight. We tackled the first part of perfect pairings, whole food perfect pairings. And tonight we're going to dive a little more into non-whole food perfect pairings and how that works. I think by the end of this week, throughout our evening classes, you'll have a better understanding of perfect pairings. Again, that's just a term that I come up with to say this is something that you can do a little outside of normal combinations, because some foods are different in their makeup that are in the same category with another food. For example, a potato does not have the protein or fiber amount to stop the fat bus as that a Crowder pea would have. They're in the same category, but they're different. So there's some special things we can do with our portions and foods through perfect pairings to get away with some things we couldn't normally get away with. But we're going to finish that up this week in the evening classes. Today I want to talk about fiber. When I say fiber, that encompasses a lot. But the thing that when we all hear fiber here, we think about fat bus control, right? That the protein in the fiber helps slow down the blood sugar elevation. Therefore, the pancreas has to secrete less insulin. And the more sensitive our cells are, or we rebuild sensitivity in the cell, the less insulin that we're going to have to be exposed to in general. So fiber helps with decreasing insulin exposure. And we're going to go through a lesson about that, and we want to ensure that you're getting enough fiber on the days that you're not fasting. So fiber, we know how and why that controls the fat bus, because we get more blood flow to the digestive system as we're digesting food. But fiber just does a lot more for us than just fat bus control. Let me find my document again here. Okay, so fiber, insulin is a hormone. So adequate fiber intake is also necessary, not just for insulin control, but also for other hormonal control and optimization. Your testosterone, your estrogen, they rely on adequate fiber consumption. Your ghrelin and leptin levels require adequate fiber consumption to maintain those. And if your ghrelin and leptin levels are out of whack, your appetite's going to be out of whack. So a lot of stuff fiber does for us besides put the brakes on the fat bus. Fiber is not a boring topic. It is a daily non-negotiable unless you're fasting. Now, I'm going to get straight to the point as far as your grams. Now, you don't have to count your fiber if you're following the bulletproof shield. The reason we need to know the numbers is when we do hit those plateaus, we can reverse engineer and try to figure out what has went wrong. When it's not broke, we're not going to try to fix it. So we don't need to be hyper vigilant if we're following the shield about getting enough protein and fiber until something starts going awry slightly. Then we have to look at these things. If we feel like we have low energy and our appetite's running away and we're losing muscle, but we're not seeing the inch loss, we're seeing weight loss but not inch loss. Weight loss without inch loss means you're losing mostly muscle. So when things go off the rails, that's when we need to back into it and just get back on point with our numbers. With fiber, one of the signs of not getting enough fiber is irregularity. You're not having a bowel movement daily, and we won't have the class today, what's your poo telling you, and everybody gets a chuckle or goes, ooh, but your poo tells you a lot. So if you don't have a healthy stool, it could be because you're not getting enough fiber. You have to be careful with fiber because if you have too much fiber, that can also constipate you, especially if it's too much insoluble fiber. We'll break that down here in a moment. So for the ladies, I think 15 to 30 grams a day. That's, some would say 15 is too low, but some people, because they don't eat that much food, they don't really need that 20, 25, 30 grams. Just where do you feel best? Where's your lane where you feel best? But you're generally speaking going to hear 20 to 30 grams for women. You're generally speaking going to hear 20 to 40 grams for men. I like to be in that sweet spot of somewhere in the 20s for me. I don't want to overdo it because fiber makes me feel heavy and bloated sometimes. I don't like that feeling. But if I don't get enough fiber, then I can tell with my continuous glucose monitor I'm having issues. All kind of things start breaking down that aren't good either. So I want to get in enough fiber. There's some fun ways to get it in, and then there's some ways it's just, naturally fits the program. I'll go over a couple of those fun ways where I get fiber, especially if I've been fasting a lot. When I'm fasting a lot, I do have to focus on supplementing with fiber. So, fiber is part of plant foods. You won't find fiber in animal-based foods. Again, that's why I'm not big on excluding any macronutrient for lifestyle. Maybe for dieting temporarily, carnivorism. Maybe there are situations where we want to do that to speed up weight loss results or break through a plateau. But lifestyle should not exclude any macronutrient. Protein, carbs, or fat shouldn't exclude them long term. You're not going to get adequate fiber that's desperately needed if all you're eating is animal-based foods because they're found in plants. The fiber is the part of the food that you're consuming that can't digest. But your gut loves it because the fiber usually comes in a package with a lot of good bacteria. I take probiotics every day, good bacteria. Generally speaking, we get sick when the bad bacteria starts winning the war in our gut and the good bacteria stops flourishing. For good bacteria to flourish in the gut these days, you just about have to supplement. You just about have to eat high fibrous foods and fermented foods because not only do you need the probiotics, you need the prebiotics that feed the probiotics in your gut. It just so happens that most of those foods that are going to be high in good bacteria and prebiotics are going to be also heavy in fiber, which is a good thing. Soluble fiber can be broken down. It is soluble. It is water solvent. It slows digestion and it helps your blood sugar and cholesterol levels. It helps you maintain an adequate blood sugar, which means over time increases insulin sensitivity. And it helps pull out bad fats through the digestive system. It will lock on and attach itself to bad fats so that you don't absorb those fats. The more fiber you have, the less carbohydrate and bad fat you will absorb. It is like a natural fat blocker and carb blocker. Again, you don't want to overdo that. If you're eating a lot of fiber, supplement with fiber, getting 60, 70 grams of fiber a day, it's going to be counterproductive. But staying in that sweet spot, these miraculous things happen that increase your sensitivity, slow down blood sugar elevation, carry out bad fats without you absorbing them, helps block carbohydrates so you get less of a blood sugar response. We've all seen the supplements that are carb blockers. It's usually some extract from something very fibrous. Like Carbees is, I think, white kidney bean extract. A lot of the carb blocker products is basically bean fiber. Somebody said, what about the gas that fiber causes? If you really, you knew that was coming, right? If you really have issues with that, and it can be for some people, if your digestive system isn't well adjusted to fiber, you can put in the foods that cause you gas, you can put, it's called epazote. It's like an herb. You can get it at any grocery store. I put epazote in my pinto beans. You can also take Gas X. I'm not recommending that. I'm not a doctor, but if that is a real issue for you, there are over-the-counter medicines that you can take to help offset that. I like to use something natural if I'm having an issue, and that is epazote. I do love beans, so anytime I'm doing beans at home, there's going to be some epazote in those beans. And also digest, Guy was laughing. Guy got me tickled. I lost my train of thought on it. I'll come back to it when I remember it. There's just a lot of good things you can do creatively. Oh, digestive enzymes. Taking good zymes, if you're a Melaleuca person, good zymes will help with that. It will help break down these fibers. What grocery store is epazote is, I'll get this wrong, but this is close enough. epazote. I've found epazote in the little ethnic section in Ingles. I'm sure almost every grocery store has epazote. Looks like an herb. You just put it in anything you're cooking or preparing that is very fibrous. You can put that in there. It actually gives it a little bit of flavor too. But it will help break down those fibers and do a lot of the work for your body. So not only are we helping our cholesterol levels, we're helping alleviate some inflammation. Soluble fiber, you really can't consume too much of it. It will cause some mild distress, but because it's water solvent, your system can eliminate it and discard it without much effort. Insoluble fiber is different. It's not water solvent. This is the fiber that keeps your digestive tract clean. Because it can't be broken down, it has to work itself through 30 feet of intestines and come out through the drought. Consuming adequate amounts of insoluble fiber can, if it runs in your family, any kind of colon health issues, it can stave that off. Not saying nothing's ever going to happen, but it prematurely happening is less likely, because insoluble fiber, when you're consuming a lot of meat products or hard to digest products or processed foods, a lot of that food never gets digested. It breaks down, but it gets stuck in the intestines, and usually, as commonsensical as this sounds, it gets caught in the bend of the piping. And that's why when you again, here comes big laugh for some, anytime you poo-poo and you see the little pebbles that are shaped like that stuff's been in there a while if it's dark, and it gets hung up in there. When you consume insoluble fiber, it can pull that out. It works. Insoluble fiber is like your body's way of consuming a Brillo pad that don't hurt. That's why I'm big on the Advocare reset, because it's the perfect blend of insoluble and soluble fiber to help reduce cholesterol, clean up my organs, but also to pull out some undigested matter. You'll get these in the right supply naturally if you're eating quite a few category 2s or the beans in category 6. Other things that fiber does, it slows our stomach from emptying, so we maintain satisfaction for longer without the need for more food. This in itself causes our body to crave fewer foods between meals. We've already mentioned it lowers insulin spikes, but it also naturally, this is huge, you never hear it touted as a fat burner, but it naturally reduces your overall calorie intake without dieting because you simply will not absorb all the calories that you consume with fiber. It hangs on to too many of them, pulls them out of your system. Fiber and hormones, especially for women over the age of 40. Fiber helps remove used estrogen from the body. You have free and usable estrogen. When estrogen's been used, it can linger in the body and it can disrupt other aspects of your hormonal production. Fiber helps move this used estrogen so that unused estrogen, fresh estrogen, can be more efficiently used. Low fiber means estrogen recirculation. It's like, bad analogy coming up, it's like I remember as a kid growing up, I think, if I'm messing this up, somebody stop me, but mom would take the Crisco and use it over and over and over. You know, it's like using the oil over and over and over. Not the best policy. You don't want recirculation of the estrogen. You want to use it, discard it, move to some fresh estrogen. You'll feel a lot better, especially mentally and cognitively. Fiber helps lower cortisol. Adequate fiber consumption will help decrease the stress hormone cortisol. High cortisol levels means chronic inflammation, means more bad cholesterol. Again, before you get yourself confused with all the information, remember, you don't have to know all this. You just have to believe enough what I'm telling you to use the bulletproof shield. So if you like all it, right, for sure, so just use the shield. What we're doing here is reinforcing why the shield works. And through osmosis, you'll just learn this through our time together this year. Because, you know, this will pop back up. We'll teach it again. And it just starts making sense. You start connecting the dots of why this program works. Awareness creates action. So back to cortisol. Cortisol is also responsible for excessive deposits of fat in the abdomen area when you overeat. So like for example, myself, I put on fat head to toe. I don't deposit it in one area over another. I get big all over. But some people primarily deposit a surplus of calories in the abdomen area. Usually look no further than cortisol. So out of all the things that can help with cortisol reduction, our peak performance, our exercising, fiber is one of those things to greatly help you to get rid of those extra fatty deposits in the abdomen area. Now that is subcutaneous fat. It's unsightly, but not as unhealthy as the other thing that fiber helps with, visceral fat storage. Visceral fat storage is when we store excessive fatty deposits inside of our organs. Adequate fiber consumption will assist with you not doing that. Remember, stable blood sugar equal lower stress response from the body. We should all this year help each other lower our stress levels. Does anybody besides me could really use some, let's lower our stress levels. You think, well, the body will still do what the body does. Your body, it's like Miss Betty says all the time, every cell in your body is obeying your thoughts and your words. So we want to command good things. We want to think on good things, feel good things, think the best. That's what we want to do and lower this stress hormone cortisol. All right. Fiber and gut health. I see some questions popping up. I'm almost done and I'll come around to those. We'll open it up for discussion and time for connection. Fiber and gut health. The microbiome connection. Your gut is your second brain. It's highly intuitive, highly intelligent. In your gut, for it to function and thrive, there are trillions of good bacteria in your gut. Fiber comes from food that is good bacteria and good the food that the good bacteria eats. When fiber is low, you will experience bloating, constipation, inflammation, poor immune health, and mood changes. Short chain fatty acids or medium chain fatty acids go along with helping fiber do their job. When we eat ones and twos, we're eating protein and fiber, and then we cook them and prepare them in medium chain fatty acids. These medium chain fatty acids help fiber do their job because they don't latch on to the MCT. You absorb the good fat, but then the fiber picks up the bad fat and helps pull it out of your system. Reality check. After several different studies, different university studies, most Americans get less than 15 grams of fiber a day. Most get about 10 per day. And you can see with everything we've covered how that can be linked to the poor health situation in our country. The best fibrous foods are raspberries, and that's fantastic, by the way. I don't want you to eat fruit by itself until you're in maintenance. But if you are going to eat fruit by itself, because I do, if you eat any berry before, say, 4 p.m., you're not going to have any issue. So if I'm not wanting a big meal, this is not a perfect pairing, but it works like that. I have no problem having me a cup to 2 cups of berries for lunch and calling it a meal by itself. I would not want to do that with other fruit, but with berries, low glycemic, high fiber. Raspberries are high in fiber. Black beans, pinto beans, red beans, chia seeds, another thing that we're going to really unpack this year. Chia seeds get overlooked. When I had a company where we relied on hemp seed sales, you really focused on that more than chia. I'm a huge believer in hemp seed. One of the best things I ever taught, and I'm proud of teaching it. But right there with those are chia seed. And there's some interesting things that you can do with chia seeds. Oats, I want you to be careful with oats. Oats are high in both soluble and insoluble fiber, but they still will elevate that blood sugar. So it's really important that with your oats, oatmeal, unless otherwise stated in the library, the type of oatmeal does differ, does matter. But oatmeal in general, you should have it with at least a lean protein, and then you could use it as a perfect pairing. Avocado is high in fiber. Avocado is one of the best fruits for you. It is a fruit, but it is all fat. And Gala, I love my avocado. If I'm wanting to control my appetite, I'll eat a half of an avocado and some olives. Olives and avocado help control appetite with all the good fat and the good fiber. Be careful though with overindulging in avocado. Your standard avocado is 350 calories. So, let me cut. Y'all don't think y'all can hear that, but I can. Let me cut that off. Okay, phone, somebody after me. Be careful with your avocado calories. They're best. You're probably not. Let me put it this way. Do y'all know the peanut butter rule? 1 tablespoon is a snack portion. I like to say 3 teaspoons. That just sounds better. 2 tablespoons or 6 teaspoons of peanut butter is a meal portion. And then we can add that to a category 2. Treat avocado portions just like you do peanut butter. That way you won't overindulge. Now, if you want to sit and eat an avocado like an apple for lunch, and you want to eat that entire avocado and call it a meal, that is no problem. I know that's an odd thing, but my point here is Be careful with eating lots because it'll pile up in a hurry, them calories will, especially if you got it guacamole'd out. You got to be careful. Control that portion. Good fats, good fibers, very good antioxidant. Avocado is one of the best things for us as we age to help fight inflammation. And don't forget broccoli. Broccoli looks like a mop for a reason. It's pushing the poop. Push it out, push it out. Here it comes. So your broccoli, chew it well. It's not water solvent, and it's going to work itself through the digestive tract and push out some of that stuff. What good does that do beyond getting rid of undigested matter? Your liver can stay cleansed. Your liver sits above your intestines. And when your intestines are stopped up, a lot of undigested matter, the liver cannot function properly, and it's responsible for burning your fat. All of this stuff works hand in hand. Can y'all see that? The more we talk, Cindy, can you see how all of this just flows in a common sense way? How God has put our bodies together. It's quite amazing. We start thinking it's very complex, and it is. But when you start looking at it like you would an engine in a car, it's all simple. It's not that hard to diagnose. If we're not going to eat these foods, what kind of fiber, and I'm almost done and I'll come to questions. What kind of fiber do we need to consume? Quality fiber. Now, I'm not a doctor. If your doctor has recommended Metamucil or something like that, you do what your doctor wants you to do. Disclaimer, I'm not a Metamucil fan. I do not think it's a quality source of fiber, and I do not like to see people buy the fiber gummies from the local super hardware store. They're typically full of sugar. If you're going to do the fiber gummies, make sure you've got preferably 3 grams of sugar or less, 5 grams. We can go 5 grams. If you don't consume the whole bottle, consume the serving size. The other night, I got carried away with Advocare gummies. I've never had a problem with them. I was having sleep gummies. I love the sleep gummies. The serving is 3. Well, I sit there and like a dum-dum consume the whole bottle. Now, I did have some good sleep, but it jacked my idea. I slept good. I was out. I think, Bryant, that was the first 100 I ever got on my Whoop strap. But it wasn't worth it. When I checked the next day, my blood sugar during the time I had those jacked it up to like 300 points. You've got to be careful with the gummies. Now, 3 of them never moves it, but I consumed the whole darn bottle like candy. I got carried away watching a movie and eating gummies. So anyway, this disclaimer, and the ones you're getting at the store they definitely are going to do that, okay? But if you're a Metamucil fan, maybe that's better than nothing, okay? So what do I do for fiber supplementation? Let's start with something I don't promote so I can at least win your heart over. Go with Thorne. I'm always going to say if you don't want to do the things that I do, that I consume, Thorne's a good company. They have FiberMend, and you can add that to any of your foods or beverages. That's a good product. The ones that I promote, it also supports the ministry, and I believe in them. I think the best one is FiberWise from Melaleuca. They have some great flavored ones. They've got that fiber flour. But I'll tell you what I've gotten where I like when I do it early, and now I'm not worried about it because I've seen it does not up my blood sugar like I feared. That is their blueberry cobbler fiber bar with a cup of my coffee. I treat it, it's not enough calories for a meal, but it feels like a meal. So in effect, I'm almost fasting, but I feel like I've had a full meal because of all the fiber in that bar. I think they have a raspberry one too. It doesn't matter the flavor. My concern with it was it does have natural sweetener in it, and that's why it's so delicious. And I was afraid that would drive up my blood sugar, but it doesn't. The insoluble fiber in the bar is doing its job, so I don't get but maybe a 10-point increase, and it's worth it because I save the calories. Great little breakfast for me. So FiberWise bars, FiberWise drink mix, and the FiberWise flour. Anytime that I'm making something that needs one of our approved flours for good measure, I also throw in a scoop of the FiberWise. You could do that with FiberMend if you like that. Fiber Gourmet Fiber is a good one. We used to carry that in the Shibby shop. I think it's second best. I think it's a good one if you can find it out there. I'm sure you could on Amazon. It and Thorne's going to be about the same. Y'all know I'm a big believer and biased about Melaleuca. I just really believe in the product. Then there's the very simple Advocare fiber packet. I guess I'll always have a tie into that because that's how I started my journey. I started it with what was called the 343 kit. Today it's called the Advocare Reset. And people just come out of that challenge and have remarkable results. And I bet if you ask to the individual, a lot of them did use the fiber packet and herbal tablets and whatnot. I love the fiber packet. Here's a question that always comes up after the reset. Can I keep having the fiber packet and probiotics? You can. Now, I prefer Melaleuca's probiotics, but that fiber packet, mix that with Ocean Spray Diet or a Spark. It's like the orange juice with the pulp, and you'll feel full, you'll feel satisfied. If you struggle with your lunch meal, eating too much portion, having that before you eat will help give you satisfaction and fullness a little easier. But those are the ones that I know about. Now, I'm not trying to knock Metamucil if your doctor's told you to do that. But generally speaking, they're telling you to do that because it's quick and easy for you to go get, and they can move on to the next patient. I just don't like it. I don't feel like it's a good source, a good quality. Can definitely tell the difference. But that's that. Any questions or comments? I do like Advocare fiber. I like Melaleuca's quality better, but I like the Advocare because it's got the perfect blend of insoluble, soluble fiber if I'm resetting or detoxing. They don't like me to use the detox word anymore because really the only way to detox the body is to pee, sweat, and poop and not eat. So they quit calling it a detox. They call it a reset. It definitely helps detoxify the organs in the body. True. Kathy said, don't take vitamins with 2 hours of the fiber. It's not so much the vitamins as it is like your omega fish oils, because it proof's in the pudding, right? So if you consume fiber around your fish oil, you're not going to absorb a lot of that fish oil. So good point. Shirley says she uses Advocare fiber every morning. Good policy. I think that, unless I missed something, any other questions, comments, like, dislike? What can I do for you today? I appreciate all y'all spending some time with me this morning.
The Advocare, can you buy just the fiber?
You sure can.
Okay. And the other thing was you mentioned that you had for a snack or to control your appetite, a half an avocado and what?
I like sometimes for a snack, if I have an appetite, I will have a palm full of olives, black olives,
Oh, okay.
and or some avocado.
Okay, great. Thank you.
They're really good for appetite control. Both of those are. They're high fat, which means high calories if we overeat. But if we don't overeat, a good rule of thumb for avocado is the peanut butter rule. Tablespoons a snack, 2 tablespoons would be a meal. And then you can have your category 2. I use avocado most time as a condiment, but sometimes I go a little crazy with the avocado. I like it. Cindy too.
My daughter the other day was asking me, she said, I like to take an apple and eat my peanut butter with that. You need to find out if that's okay for me. So I said, I'll ask when I have the opportunity. So I have an opportunity. I'm asking. Is that all right?
So really good point. So an apple and peanut butter, if you went back 25 years with me, you would know they was for 2 or 3 years there. We had a lot of fun. It was a big joke in class. I forget the saying I used. And a whole apple with peanut butter, natural peanut butter, or peanut butter commercial peanut butter is not a good thing. And back in the day, it was in every women's magazine. So many of my clients back then liked their apple and peanut butter. We come up with a perfect pairing so that they could have their apple and peanut butter. Typically, an apple is going to elevate blood sugars enough to cause a pretty good insulin response. Peanut butter is nothing but fat, basically, very little protein in it. So there's really nothing there to stop the fat bus from coming and picking up the fat lipids. So what we did was we modified. And if you wanted to have that on an approved day, you could have half an apple, because that gets us really close to the condiment rule. It's no longer a snack. We're really getting close to that 50 calories. So a half of an apple with any of the high protein peanut butters, a tablespoon. So if I want to do a half an apple with a tablespoon of nuts and more, or PB2, if you've ever used PB2, there's like 3 high protein peanut butters remaining on the marketplace. There's nuts and more. Oh, and there is another one that is lower calorie. It's called Better in Peanut Butter. That's exactly the brand name. It's called Better in, as in Nancy, Better in Peanut Butter. That one works. Nuts and more works. Power Butter works. PB2 works. So she could do it that way. There's nothing we can't have. It's just, can we understand perfect pairings enough to get our macros right? And that gets your macros right.
She will be glad to know that I remembered to ask.
Good deal. And you really can. You can make up some PB2 and dip some apple slices in that, and it's delicious. Yes, ma'am, Patricia.
Rocket, ROCKIT, apples range in size from about this big to this big. So the smaller ones are probably even less than half an apple, and you get more peeling. So I buy the bag that has equal this and this, because I like this one and Lee likes this one.
Nice. That's good to know. And natural portion control. Good stuff.
Yep.
An apple a day will keep the doctor away if you're already in maintenance. What about an apple with Chobani sugar-free yogurt? So let's unpack that. Great question. So approved yogurt, Greek plain yogurt, what category is that, everybody? Category 1. If it's Greek plain or 000, it is a category 1. So I have to control my portion, get a lot of it. You can have up to a cup of that stuff. And then your fruit, you wouldn't want. There are perfect pairing fruits, but let's stay with the main program right now. Is there a way for me to incorporate fruit with that Greek plain yogurt? Yes, we can call it a condiment. So a palmful of any fruit that you want on that Greek plain yogurt. Now, if you want a larger serving of fruit with the Greek plain yogurt, then we have to use an apple, berries, orange, or grapefruit. Nutso at Costco is organic. It has everything in it and chia seeds. I'm pretty sure, if I remember right, it falls into our normal peanut butter rules. Let me double check it for you. It may be one that we can include in our higher protein list. I'll tell you real quick. Hold on. Nutso. I'm Nutso. I might like this stuff because I am Nutso. People have made me Nutso.
Now, Betty's going to get on to me and you both, because you just said you were nutso, and I said, me too. And immediately I thought, oh, dang, Betty's going to get both of us for saying that.
She knows that we just have some loose lip bad habits.
I think I'm getting a bad reputation. But it's fun.
Nutso looks pretty good to me. 3 grams of fiber, 6 grams of protein, mostly fat. The fat content scares me because it's about 75% calories from fat. So we would just treat Nutso like regular peanut butter, but it is a better, healthier form of peanut butter. It does work though. It's a good find. Is the cup of raspberries as a meal only for maintenance? Typically, yes, but what I was saying earlier, even in the weight loss mode, for lunch at times, I will have a cup of berries as my meal. If I'm not wanting a heavy meal, you're never going to go wrong with the right portion of berries. They're just high in fiber, low glycemic. You're not getting any protein, but sometimes I just want something light, and it's easy on digestion, so it's almost like fasting through lunch if you don't overdo it. About a cup of berries, if you wanted to do that every once in a while as a tide me over, you would still call it a meal. You would not want to do that with other fruit. There are some you can do it with, but I'm not worried about you eating berries by themselves as an eating episode before, say, 4 p.m. Why 4 p.m.? This didn't get asked, but it often does. About an hour to 2 hours before sunset, your circadian rhythm begins to down-regulate. So you start slowing down and preparing for nighttime recovery. And that's what I want you to be cognizant of, that eating when you're trying to lose weight, eating carbohydrate an hour to 2 hours before sunset is going to slow everything down. Yes, Jif Natural is still in the food library. Any Peter Pan Natural, Jif Natural, those are not great for you, but they're not bad. It's one of those lesser evils. It won't hurt you, but it might not help you a lot. It's still approved. Best peanut butter? No peanut butter. Just being honest. You know, we have a lot of things on the program that fills gaps for us, including me. So I get to wanting peanut butter, and if I'm craving it, I want to know which kind to have. But no, peanut butter in general is not the best thing for you to consume. But I eat it too. Is eating the green olives just as good as the black? They're about equal. They both have slightly different properties, but very similar properties. They usually get used on our program as a condiment, like on a salad. But I like to get those in the deli department. I'll get me one of those containers of the different olives, the big ones, big fat ones. And if I get an appetite, I do that like pickles. The difference is pickles are basically no calories. Olives do have calories, so I have to really watch my portion, but they really satisfy my appetite. And a little trick, if you can control the portion. The blue cheese filled ones or feta cheese filled ones, whichever you find, 3 or 4 of those are not going to hurt you. It's called an extra. And instead of taking a supplement that controls appetite, you can have 3 olives. Yes, ma'am, Patricia. Which brand peanut butter with pretzels? So this is interesting. I would have bet you that these weren't approved. They are. They fit the snack formula. All of the pretzels I found, you know, the ones that are like, they're the size of a combo. Do you know those ones? Leanne, that I'm talking, or Lisa, do you know the ones I'm talking about? No, I'm not talking about big pretzels, but the ones they look like they're peanut butter filled and round.
Yes.
One handful of those is an approved snack. Every one of them that I have found, not the big ones, but they're about the size of a combo. Every brand that I've found that are peanut butter filled works as an approved snack. Now, the problem is they have hydrogenated fats in them. It's not a natural peanut butter in those pretzels, so you don't want to make this a routine. But if it is Saturday and I want to stay approved and I'm watching a football game and I need a snack, one handful of those will help me control insulin. They fit the formula if I don't go over 200 calories. And Cindy asked which brand. Every brand that I have found. Even the Laura Lynn, the off brands, apparently it's something that's mass produced and they can private label it, because I've seen the same ones with different brands. but they're just a little salted, about this big around, filled with not the healthiest peanut butter, but your macros are on point, as long as you don't go over a heaping handful.
I went looking for some at Walmart, and Reese's had a package for it, and I ran from it because I thought there is no way that this is approved.
Yeah, they work. They actually do work, and they are approved as long as you don't go over a handful. Every one that I've seen, I feel comfortable enough because I eat a lot of them to tell you that every brand that I've seen that are the little ones filled with peanut butter, one serving of that works great for me. As an approved eating episode, that is a snack. Yes, ma'am, Patricia.
I think Sprouts has them loose so that you can just buy a handful if you have trouble with over measuring what a handful is.
Yeah, that's
And
good.
they call your name too much. So if you have a Sprouts close to you, you can check out all of those that you can buy by the handful.
Good to know. Good to know. Good stuff. Tanya asked, can you have pretzel crisp with hummus? If we're talking about the little flat, really flat pretzels, is that one you're talking about? They're real thin. I think's what's called, okay. Any of those, one handful, they're not the best for weight loss. They're not great for weight loss. They're a straight up carb, and I don't want to see you eat them by themselves. We need to pair something with them. So if you're having one handful and you're using hummus, a category 6, and you will keep that combination 200 calories or less, it is a snack eating episode. That makes sense?
Mm-hmm.
I also will take fat-free cheese, and when I can find it these days, hard to do, but I will melt I take a handful, but probably quarter cup. You can melt that over those pretzels, and that adds enough protein to slow the blood sugar down. I also like to do that with fat-free cream cheese, fat-free or reduced fat cream cheese with those pretzels. Be mindful not to eat the pretzel by themselves. Be mindful not to have more than 200 calories of those pretzels combined with something else. And then it's an approved snack. That is them. Cindy just posted the picture. Those actually work with fat-free cream cheese, hummus. You just have to keep the overall calories less than 200 and don't eat them by themselves. They're also great as a perfect pairing with tuna. I make tuna salad. I make me a crab salad, the egg salad. Those are great snacks with those. As long as you know we're talking 0 on the weight loss meter. We hadn't talked about that in a while, but remember that means it won't hurt you, but won't help you if you follow the instructions. Thanks, Jennifer. Okay, I got a private question. I don't want you to think that I've overlooked what you're saying, and just know that I appreciate what you're saying very much. Back to the tiny elephant in the room. We're going to fly above all that. We're not worried about it. I don't want you to worry about it. This group, what God is for, you can't stop, and what God is against ain't never going to work. Whether that's me or anything else, we're not worried about it. We're putting the past behind us. Thank you all for safeguarding the program. I don't want you to feel like I don't value that. I really appreciate you. I value peace more than I do money. So let's keep going forward together. Don't worry about that at all. Didn't want you to think I was overlooking that. Appreciate you very much, more than words can express. Anybody else? Peanut butter calls my name. I try to have a peanut-free house. Good for you. Peanuts are better than peanut butter. Almonds are better than peanuts. Macadamias are great. There's a lot of good properties in nuts, but they are high in oxalates. When you're doing When you're doing a food elimination protocol, nuts and seeds have to be the first thing to go because they're likely causing a lot of your autoimmune distress. Nuts are good for you. They haven't lied to you about that. But some of us, our digestive systems cannot handle the oxalates in them. Just be aware of that. And nuts are better than peanut butter for obvious reasons. If we reverse engineer what we're learning, we see, oh, peanut butter is just us doing the processing for our body. So we may not want to do the processing for our body because our body will get lazy. So we eat the nuts and the seeds and the body has to process them. So peanut butter's okay, it's acceptable. Be better to have nuts and seeds, would be better in my estimation to have neither. Can I do blueberries instead of raspberries? Any berry, Kimberly. It's good to have you today. Any berry. Depending on what your goal is, you can make a case for different berries being better for different situations. It's really hard to beat the blueberry. But any berry, if it's a berry, you can very much have it. Category 5.
I think we're coming up on a place here that if you keep going, that we're just all going to take the mute off and we're going to have a good laugh because you've had some good lines today.
That's the best kind when you're not. If I try to be funny, I'm never funny. But when I'm not trying, I get a few chuckles.
Yeah, just use what God gave you. You know, it's right there. It's nearby because He is.
Oh, Betty, they just made me think of something else too. You can take those little pretzels or any of the wassa. Wassa would be better than the pretzels. Wassa fiber, wassa light and crisp. One of my favorite things to do is even on those little pretzels, take reduced fat cream cheese or fat-free cream cheese, spread over them, and take blueberries and push them in the cream cheese and eat them that way. That's good. Oh no, Angie, that's terrible. Allergic to raspberries. Good gracious. We need to stay away from those. I imagine you have to be careful with all berries then, don't you? Because they could be intermingled. Did y'all have fun? Did you have a good class? All right. We appreciate all your support, spending time with us. Please pray for us. We stand in need of your prayers. And we're continuing to look forward to the year. All right, who feels like closing us out in prayer? Thanks, Gina. I don't want to steal your blessing. Thank you, Patricia. How about you, Patricia? You feel like closing us out?
Okay. Dear Lord, thank you so much for being here with us. Thank you for leading Travis to continue to learn and to continue to share with us. And I pray that each of us will enjoy here in Georgia, where I am, this beautiful, beautiful day. Even though it's cold, it is a beautiful day. So thank you. And I pray that we will open our ears, open our hearts, and be willing to obey, ask first, and obey what we have heard that we need to apply to better nutritionally take care of our bodies, your temple, which you expect us to take care of. So thank you. We love you, and just bless everyone who is here in hearing distance. In Christ's precious name, amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you so much. Thank you all. And Lord willing, we look forward to seeing. Thank you, Patricia. Appreciate that humble prayer. And we look forward to seeing you all that can come back tonight, and we will tackle more about perfect pairings. All right. Have a good day, everybody. We love you.